Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. I believe we are getting very close to bombing Iran back to the Stone Age, okay? Iran is making great strides towards a nuclear weapon. We know what they're doing with the Houthis. We know what they're doing with Hamas and Hezbollah. We know that Iran is the great funder of terrorism really across the globe. And now this idea that they're getting closer and closer to a nuclear weapon would mean that it's either us or it's Israel. Now, my sources are telling me that the United States has moved 8 B-2 Spirit bombers into the Indian Ocean, a base, I believe it's called Diego Garcia, into this base. 8 of them. We only have 20 of these bombers. Now they're being moved into the Indian Ocean. This is about Iran. This is about its quest for a nuclear weapon. And this is about the United States, President Trump, and Israel saying, you cannot have a nuclear weapon. What's confusing about this, though, is that Tulsi Gabbard goes before the United States Senate yesterday and declares that Iran is not on a path to a nuclear bomb. When on the same day, you have a sitting United States general testifying that Iran is 10 to 15 days away from a nuclear weapon. So which is it? Well, you need to learn about the intelligence community. And you need to learn about the defense community and how they're always like this. And they both have motivations. And so we're going to talk about that, see where we really are on this. And then I want to talk about the 25% tariffs on cars and why I wouldn't get too freaked out about this tariff thing just yet. Again, I want to remind you folks of our title sponsor today. That would be our friends over at Energized Health. You know I'm feeling great, and the reason I'm feeling so great is because of Energized Health. I am now hydrated at a cellular level, and this is so important. This has changed my body around physically, changed my mind around mentally. I'm sharper, crisper, feeling better about things, and it's changed my levels in so many things for the better, like cholesterol down, testosterone up, body fat down, muscle mass up. All because of the folks at Energized Health and what intercellular hydration can do for you. I urge you to check it out. Go to energizedhealth.com/Grant. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I talked to people who lost 200 pounds on this system. So if you just want to tighten things up or you really want to take back your life, Energized Health is for you. And guess what? I'm just going to say it. It was easy as far as programs go. It was easy. And it taught me how to live. And I'm living better for it. EnergizedHealth.com. All right, so what is this situation with Iran now? Should we be concerned that this could be the start of World War III? I know that Russia, China, and Iran and North Korea are all aligned tightly. We know that Russia is severely debilitated. We know that China is on the brink of financial collapse. Their real estate market, the loans that they have out, they are not in a position right now to go to World War III. North Korea, forget about it. They don't want World War III. And then that leaves Iran. Iran is in no position to fight that on its own. Now, the problem with Iran is that it is funding all kinds of evil behavior, from the Houthis to Hamas to Hezbollah, to so many of these terror organizations that we are now taking the fight to, thanks to President Trump. And the bombardment of the Houthis to open up these shipping lanes continues into Yemen and some of these Houthi boats. And we're taking out leadership of the Houthis as we speak. Great move. But really, it is Iran that is the head of the snake. Israel knows this. Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon now than I believe they ever have been before. It's been clear to me that they were always on the path to a nuclear weapon. This is from the testimony of General Cotton in front of Congress yesterday. Quote, the Islamic Republic of Iran continues to expand its nuclear program by increasing its stockpile of highly enriched uranium and deploying additional advanced centrifuges. Tehran has reduced the time required to produce sufficient weapons-grade uranium for a nuclear device from 10 to 15 days to presumably less than 1 week. Iran poses the region's largest arsenal of conventional ballistic missiles, which it employed in attacks on Israel last year. Tehran continues to proliferate advanced conventional weapons to non-state militia groups in the Middle East, resulting in attacks against U.S. partner personnel and interests, undermining regional stability. Iran's work on space launch vehicles, including two-stage, liquid-fueled Smorg satellite carrier rocket, likely shortens the timeline to produce an ICBM due to the similarities in technology. This rocket could have a 2,400-mile range with a 2,200 payload. This means that this general believes that Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon and being able to deliver that nuclear weapon than ever before. Now, who's telling the truth? Is it the general inside the Defense Department? And we know the war hawks love the idea of war and bombing. Or is the intelligence community correct? The people under Tulsi Gabbard as the director of national intelligence. Because her reports say the exact opposite. Sadly, I think Tulsi is wrong, but the first inclination may be Tulsi Gabbard's a mole. I warned you about her. She's not admitting that Iran is on the path to a nuclear weapon. Or this is a ploy to lull Iran into a sense of security. Listen to what Tulsi Gabbard said yesterday.
Iran continues of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data.
So all of this is explaining why Iran is a threat, except when she starts talking about its nuclear capabilities. I first heard this and I was confused by it, but now I think it may be a ploy. Maybe.
IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Does she really believe Iran is not working on a nuclear weapon? She can't. All the evidence shows that Iran is working towards a nuclear weapon. I believe President Trump has talked about Iran working towards a nuclear weapon. Unless somehow her testimony here is meant to lull Tehran into a sense of security, but then why would the United States government have a military guy explaining how they're 10 to 15 days away from enriching uranium centrifuges into weapons-grade centrifuges? So apparently, from a recent report, Iran has amassed 274.8 kilos of enriched uranium up to 60% enrichment grade. Over 5% is weapons grade uranium, okay? They're at 60. For a mushroom cloud style nuclear bomb, you need to enrich uranium to 90%. They're not there yet, but this may be why the general says, hey, they are weeks away from this happening. We do know that they have over 135 centrifuges spread across Iran. So you'd have to have a massive bombing campaign if you wanted to take all of this out. I believe this is what the United States is gearing up for. With these 8 B-2 Spirit bombers now moved into the Indian Ocean at a naval base on one of the islands that puts us directly in striking distance to Tehran, Iran better look out, because it may just be game over. I'll let Tulsi Gabbard continue here.
In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and...
So, you see, in many respects, she's contradicting herself, because she's talking about the highly enriched uranium that it has that is counterintuitive to someone you think is not seeking a nuclear weapon, but then she says they're not. Well, my belief is the CIA has always been filled with liberals. State Department, always filled with liberals. The Defense Department has always been filled with, I'm not going to say conservatives, but I'm going to say war hawks. I guess in some respects, you want your Defense Department to be wanting to get in the game, right? I mean, you want them to be ready and eager to fight for America and our freedoms and all of those things. And I believe that the DOD most certainly is. So you've got one side pushing for war. You've got another side saying, oh, no, nothing to see here. Iran's cool, as they believe in all this crazy, let's just help Iran and we'll send them cash and they'll obey us and everything will be dandy if we give them jobs, like the Obama model, which is really about the destruction of Israel in the end. That's my firm belief. That's what ultimately many inside the United States government, this deep state, is working against the state of Israel. And Defense Department, either they're working for the state of Israel or they just want to drop bombs, all right? They just want to freaking start throwing lead down range, right? We shall see. I'll let her finish.
Press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance. Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
So you heard the general talk about Iran is funding these missiles that's going after U.S. targets and targets that house allies of the United States. Something needs to be done with Iran. I told you after October 7th, when Israel happened, the first thing we should have done was gone into Iran and take out all of their oil refineries, and then gone and hit the ports where they ship the oil from. You hit the ports, you hit the oil refineries, it would have knocked them back hard. They would have gotten the message. But Biden didn't do anything, so they just kept upping the ante, funding the Houthis, funding Hamas, and everything spiraled out of control in the Middle East. Now you got President Trump back, making things happen. We'll keep an eye on this. I'm not worried about it because I don't think World War III will come of it. But I do want to keep an eye on it because I do think that we are gearing up for something big in Iran, and it could be soon. We shall see. All right. Speaking of which, if that happens, you know what's going to happen to the stock market. It's going to go kaputsies, which is why I want to tell you about my friends over at get20now.com. Get20now.com. This is about 20% annualized interest on your investment, paid out monthly. It's cash flow, mailbox money. They direct deposit this money into my account every month, same day, like clockwork. The folks at get20now.com have lived up to all of their promises to me. I've made a sizable investment with them, and I really am considering adding to that investment because I'm contractually locked into the interest rate that I'm getting. Again, paid out monthly. The company is NFN8, and it's about Bitcoin mining at a strategic industrial scale. Buying electricity very cheap, efficient machines, mining the Bitcoin, selling it on the open market. Your investment helps them do that. In turn, they pay you an annualized interest rate up to 20%, paid out monthly. And that's the key. Get20now.com is the website, get20now.com. If they call you, call them back. Better yet, answer the phone. They're busy. A lot of people taking advantage of this offer. I'm not quite sure how long it's going to last, quite frankly. I'd hate to lose them as sponsors, but I think they're killing it right now. And so I don't know how long it'll last. Get20now.com, get20now.com. All right. I next want to talk about tariffs. A lot of people worried. We saw what happened with the stock market yesterday. Not good. So people are worried about these tariffs. I don't want you to be worried about the tariffs. Some things, the prices will go up. Others, the prices will go down. Remember, we only import 15% of our goods to the United States. So you're not looking at tariffs on a wide swath of items. Now, I drive a Mercedes-Benz. I know many of you will be upset with me. I love Mercedes, okay? I always have, and I love Mercedes. I turned my back on Cadillac. I was driving Cadillacs. They started to fall apart, sadly. So I went to Mercedes. I've been very happy. I'm going to be upset about having to pay an extra 25%, but I'll deal with it because I'm a patriot and it is what it is. Or I go buy an American car. Maybe I go back to Cadillac. Maybe they've fixed some things. I don't know. The price will most certainly go up on some automobiles foreign, but they could go down on automobiles here. And the prices of other things could go down as well. I'm going to explain that. But first, let's play President Trump explaining what he's doing.
And this is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at. And we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been seeing, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think.
And that's a good thing. And business coming back to the United States, trillions of dollars of investment here from all kinds of, not just auto manufacturers, but big banks, the investment in AI. President Trump has a massive investment that has come into the United States. So I want to go through why I don't think you're going to see a massive increase in prices across the board. And this was thanks to my friends at Breitbart that wrote an article about a debate between Larry Kudlow and the Cato Institute. Cato Institute, they're free marketeers for sure. They're also libertarians, which means sometimes they get put on the wrong side of issues. Mostly they're right, but sometimes they're wrong. This is what I say about libertarians. Their good ideas are really good, but their bad ideas are really bad. This is inflation versus relative price changes. So Larry Kudlow's point to this was that you can have inflation and relative price changes not being the same thing. Tariffs may increase the price of one product, but that means consumers would have less money to spend on other goods and services, which then would put downward price pressure on other products. So it doesn't cause a broad rise in everything. Some prices may go up, some prices might go down, and in the end, it equals out. So Kudlow used the example of if you have a washing machine that has tariffs on it, you want this washing machine, even though it's made overseas, this is the one you want, and you pay 25% more than you normally would for it. Well, you buy it, but then you still need a TV, but because you pay the extra 25%, now you're going to not buy the TV, or you're not going to buy the more expensive TV. Demand goes down, and then the price falls down with it. So the price of TVs actually ends up coming down. So all of this would mean that there's a possibility that the foreign nation will pick up much of the tariffs as well, which means there'd be minimal pass-through to the consumer. All right? All of this is very important to think about. He also says velocity of money is not constant. So tariffs do not necessarily reduce output. Tariffs reallocate demand from foreign suppliers to domestic producers or alternative trading partners, and they affect only a small portion of consumer purchases. Productive capacity is not destroyed, it is simply shifted. So when it comes to a free market, simply shifting things means it will balance out over time. They talk about this idea of velocity of money. And the velocity of money is not constant. I'm going to read this, okay? Velocity is highly responsive to changes in consumers' behavior and the trade dynamics. If tariffs cause consumers to spend more on targeted goods, they spend less on others, slowing the velocity of money in those sectors. This mitigates price pressures elsewhere, contradicting those who say that tariffs are going to go up and cause prices to go up across the board. I hope that's helpful. A little complicated. In the end, what we want is Mercedes-Benz to come here to the United States and build their cars here, maybe in Missouri, right, Senator?
I love the sound of all of that, Jesse. We'd love to have BMW plants in Missouri. We'll take all of them. All of these foreign countries, you're welcome in the state of Missouri. Come open up your auto plants. You don't want to pay 25% tariffs? Come on, the door is open.
Well, it doesn't all have to be in Missouri. Some can go to South Carolina.
No, Missouri's good. Missouri's good.
Okay. All right. Missouri is the new Detroit. We got it. All right.
So this is the goal. And we've seen some Mexico operations, moving operations into states like Indiana. All of this is great news for the American car worker. And that's what it's about, right? Is the American worker who wants relief, who wants a job, who wants to work 6 days a week, not 5 days a week. The American worker wants to work 6 days a week, and they want overtime. And you know what? The car manufacturers be happy to pay overtime if they're selling cars like crazy. This is Scott Jennings.
Ultimately, this policy, if enacted over a long period of time, will drive more manufacturing back into the United States. So whether you're an American company or not, if you've got stuff being made over in other countries, he wants that to be brought back here. That's number one. Number two, even though the executives may not be happy, I'll tell you who is happy, I think, is the United Auto Workers and the people who represent the working men and women who exist in these factories. They've been very supportive of these ideas.
Of course they are. Because it's going to mean more jobs for them. So if BMW and Mercedes does not come to the United States to build cars, what will happen? I believe you're going to see an explosion of U.S.-based car sales here. And that means more people are going to have to be put to work. So this is Stephen Moore, one of President Trump's economic advisors. He's great. He went on with Jen Horn and I on The Morning Answer, my radio show, and I want to play a little bit of that interview with you, him talking about tariffs and the effect that he thinks it'll have. Stephen Moore, a very respected economist.
And common sense.
Let me ask you about tariffs. President Trump put a 25% tariffs on. No comment. Well, I think.
Come on, Liberation Day is coming, Stephen.
I'm going to get maybe. I saw a piece by Kudlow. He had a debate with the Cato Institute, and it was really pretty fascinating. And he talked about inflation versus relative price changes. And he basically was saying, and I'd love your take on this because I know you're friends with him.
I did not see that. Where did you see that?
It was on Fox Business. Debate with Cato. Okay. I could try to find the link for you.
Yeah, so I'll look for that because I did not see it. But I just had dinner with Larry a couple nights ago. He's, so I'm on Larry's side on this one. Go ahead.
All right. So he says that inflation and relative price change are different. That the price of a Mercedes may go up, but you're going to have less people who can spend money on that. Or if they do spend money on that, they're going to have less money to spend on other things, and the price of other things would go down. And so that's why it's not broad spread inflation with tariffs. And let's face it, we only import about 15% of our goods.
Okay, so let me kind of and I did not see that debate, but I'm glad you mentioned it because I'm going. Is it on YouTube or is it on? I'll look for it. But
yeah.
Well, anyway, let me put it like this. So it is true, all other things equal, if you put a tariff, let's say, on toys that come in from China, and you're a purchaser of those toys, some of that tariff is going to be, you're going to pay more, right? And so that part is true, that, if you put a tariff on, it's just like a sales tax, and that will be absorbed mostly by the consumer, although the manufacturer in China would probably pay some of it as well. But what people are missing in this debate is, yes, Trump wants tariffs, and I'm not a big fan of tariffs, as you guys know. But what everybody's leaving out is that he's also talking about massive tax cuts on other things that are produced, right? And the tax cuts are bigger than the tariff increases. So on balance, yeah, you may pay more for some things, but the tax cuts are going to reduce the costs of other things. Trump was president in his first term, for 4 years. Do you recall us having any, runaway inflation when Trump was president?
No. And he was engaging in this trade stuff already. Okay,
exactly.
So
that's right. So,
go ahead.
By the way, there are other reasons to not favor the tariffs, but I don't think that I'm going to side with her. I think Larry has this story right.
So just quickly here, Stephen, as we come up on a break, and this is a totally selfish and personal question, Steve. Okay. I need a new car. I heard President Trump the other day. I don't need a new car, but I'm in the market for a new car. And President Trump, I hate to say this, I haven't had an American car since I had my Dodge Durango in my 20s. So he's saying he's going to give.
I thought you still were in your 20s.
Well, yeah, you're right. It was just a few days ago. I have multiple cars, but he's saying that he's going to give a tax break to people for buying American cars. Have you heard this scuttlebutt? You think that's true, and is it a good idea?
Well, I don't know. Look, I do believe in the value of free trade, but I will say this, that he does want to favor domestically produced things over things that are made in China and other countries. And, look, you cut me, I bleed red, white, and blue, just like him.
So this idea that Jen was just talking about giving a tax break for buying American cars, I went to the Tesla dealership, American-made car. Apparently there's a rebate that you literally a rebate that you take off of your taxes for $7,500 if you buy a Tesla. Except it's only available to you if you make less than $150,000 a year. Now, I know a lot of you out there make less than $150,000 a year. I'm blessed that I make more than that. So I'm not eligible to that. This is what I mean about picking winners and losers in government. Just because I make more money than somebody else, why should I be punished and not get the benefit of buying something that they think is going to be a benefit to society? I guess that's why they're giving you the tax break. So why shouldn't I get it? This idea of President Trump to give a tax break if you buy an American car, I love the idea. But everybody should get it. Please don't tie it to your income scale. Stop making special classes of people out of everybody. To me, quite frankly, that kind of thing is totally annoying. Folks, let me tell you about the Wellness Company. I know you've probably seen these kits. I've shown them to you before. They're a must-have if you are into being prepared. Look, inside this kit has the best medications money can buy. These are prescription medications. I've had amoxicillin in here that helps me with my strep throat when I had it just a few months ago. There's ivermectin in here. I took that. My COVID gone in a day. Still hard to get ivermectin in some parts of the country, even though now the FDA miraculously says, oh, guess what? Ivermectin is acceptable to treat COVID. We were told we were conspiracy theorists for that. TWC never believed the FDA originally. They said, no, this stuff works. And they created these kits for us. I want you to go to twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. You're not going to regret it. I promise you. You're going to be safer for having one of those kits in your household. God forbid you need it and don't have it. And I hope you never need it. But it's nice having it just in case. All right. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. All right. You want to run through a little bit of Jasmine Crockett. And I appreciate Patrick saying, go Stinchfield's Army. Stinchfield's Army rolls, Patrick. Thank you. You're a part of that on the YouTube channel. Let's see how we're doing. Rumble always does well. Facebook, not so much. And YouTube, ghost town. So, Patrick, you watching there is much appreciated. I would say move over to Rumble. If you're on Rumble right now, folks, subscribe to the channel, please. That get notified when we go live. And it helps up the numbers and it helps up the performance when you subscribe to my channel. So it is greatly appreciated. Download the app, too. The app is great, the Rumble app. Anyway, how about Jasmine Crockett, okay? This woman's so out of control. I thought I'd go through some of her lowlights, all right, and explain to you why she has become the face of the Democrat Party. The reason she's the face of the Democrat Party is this party is the party of violence. They may deny it publicly, but they certainly encourage it privately and quietly. The party of violence is that of the Democrats. Here's Jasmine Crockett, who represents a district here in Dallas, not far from where I broadcast from.
On March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes. Listen, I have learned as I serve on the Doge Oversight Committee that there is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now. And that language is money. And so I've been so proud to see us organized behind a cause, because here's the deal. The things that we're fighting for, we are fighting for our country. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for our freedoms. And when I say fighting, I'm saying that figuratively. Obviously, everything that I am promoting is nonviolent.
Everything you're promoting is nonviolent. You just said for your birthday you want Elon Musk taken down. That's violent, okay? Now, I get the fighting this way. How many times do I say we got to fight? President Trump, fight, fight, fight. I get there are times where you don't need violence. But she often talks about punching people in the face.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right?
So let me explain something to you. When I first started getting into this game, the conservative talk game, I was doing afternoon drive in Dallas on 570 KLAF, great station. And then I got approached by the National Rifle Association to go help them launch NRA TV. And that's what I did. Now, me on this show, the only one I represent is me. That's it. My sponsors know they don't get to tell me what to say. If they don't like what I say, then they don't need to be my sponsor. But what I love about my sponsors, they all think like me. But when you work for the NRA, what I had to worry about, because basically you're a spokesperson for them, is I've got a bigger organization I've got to worry about. If I say something that could hurt the organization, I've got to be very mindful of that. And the media was always waiting for me, Dana Lash, Dan Bongino worked there at the time when I was there, waiting for me and Dana Lash and Dan Bongino and Colion Noir to say something they could pounce on. Say something like, you got to hit Ted Cruz over the head. They wanted the NRA to promote violence. So sure, we would talk about fighting. And we got to go out there and wage war on them and a battle. But I was always very careful not to even come close to having anyone misconstrue that we were being violent in nature. In fact, I wouldn't even say things like, he's got a target on his back. They'd misconstrue that as I really mean he has a legitimate target. I wouldn't say things like that. Or it'll blow your mind. I wouldn't say things like that because they would misconstrue it as I mean about shooting somebody in the head. All of this I thought about every single moment. And quite frankly, it's exhausting to have to worry about protecting somebody else because it's almost more stressful worried about an organization that's bigger than you and you don't want to hurt them than it is just for me to get up here and blast. So she knows what she's doing when she uses this rhetoric, and so does Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, says, look out, Crockett.
After she said that about Elon, she said, well, I didn't mean violence. But, however, your words have consequences. And what happened after she said that about Elon Musk, she's a Texan in her own home state. After she said that, this morning, 3 explosive devices were found in Austin, Texas. So she needs to unequivocally denounce the violence. She must apologize immediately, not only to all Texans, but to our country, to the American shareholders of Tesla, because she is promoting violence. And then you showed the clip of what she said about Senator Cruz. I believe she probably will be censured by Congress for saying that. You know, people don't learn.
Here's the thing about censuring members of Congress from both sides. I don't like playing that game. And the reason I don't like playing that game is because she will use it to her advantage. If we go and censure Jasmine Crockett, the fundraising emails will be out in email boxes of every Democrat across this country. Look at your Nubian princess warrior under attack by the white man coming after her. Now they want her censured in the United States Congress. Raise money. Help Jasmine Crockett. Fight back. She will raise so much money off of us censuring her that it isn't worth censuring her. I truly believe that. Do not censure her. She will benefit off of it. You want to see a little lowlight reel of I believe Wesley Hunt, congressman from Texas, put that together, his team. Could you imagine her running for president in 2028? There's talk about AOC and Bernie Sanders as a ticket. Are the Democrats not learning anything? Do they not understand where this country is? We don't want this craziness. Think about some of the things she said. Black people shouldn't pay taxes. Here I am. I just told you that we shouldn't have special classes of people. That if there's a tax break for buying American cars, it should go to everybody regardless of their income levels. It certainly should go to everybody regardless of the color of their skin. And that white people have never faced oppression. Why would you want anybody to face oppression? I don't want black people facing oppression. And I know they did at a certain point in time in our history. And I know there is still racism in this country. But guess what? That racism goes both ways. I hate to wake everybody up on this. Not all of you. You know that. But this idea of racism goes literally both ways. All right. You can go into media today, including conservative media. If you are a black conservative today, you're going to have an upper hand. You're going to have an easier time making it because there's fewer of you. It's literally just supply and demand. If you're trying to be an influencer is what I'm talking about. When I was in mainstream television, if you were a black reporter and you were halfway decent, you were going to be put ahead of the white reporter who was pretty decent. A fact. Happened to me on numerous occasions. I was told by the general manager of the NBC owned and operated station group in Hartford, Connecticut, Grant, if you were black, you'd be the White House correspondent for NBC News, but you're not. So sign on the contract here in Hartford. Like literally said to me. And in some respects, I don't care, right? Because each one of these companies has a right to do whatever they want, hire people they want. They want more black people. Have at it, man. I'll go to work for another company. And guess what I did? I left because I couldn't take it anymore, and I went and started my own business. And that set me off on a path. I'm well much better off today that I went out on my own than I was working for that shitbag company called NBC. For shizzle, my nizzle. This is Jasmine Crockett.
About emergency management, and they don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. In fact, I'm going to skip off real quick because they have tried to come for you, Miss Mayor, and I just want to clarify, you did not work for NPR when those statements were made, did you?
That is correct, Madam
And to
Chair.
be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentlewoman's time has expired.
She had to read it, by the way, which I probably would have to read it too. But she was yelling at the CEO of NPR at a hearing yesterday talking about we need to take away funding from NPR. It's not needed anymore. NPR goes out and gets its own advertising agencies, just like Salem Radio does, the radio conglomerate that I work for out in Los Angeles doing morning drive every morning. They sell their own their own radio stations. Excuse me, their own advertisements for the radio stations. Now, as she's saying, we're claiming we're trying to shut NPR down. No one is claiming we want NPR to be shut down. We're just saying you don't need to take our tax dollars anymore. You can survive on your own. It's just like when a kid gets kicked out of the nest. You're not taking mom and dad's money anymore. You got to go get a job. Now, what do the Democrats want to do with AM radio? The Democrats right now are trying to do away with AM radio, saying it's not needed anymore. It's antiquated, and they don't need it for the public, even though the public safety alert system exists on AM radio. Now, I will admit that AM radio is antiquated, and, you know, FM is the king, but what exists on AM radio today? Talk radio. Who dominates talk radio? Conservative stations and outlets. The Democrats' quest to do away with AM radio and new cars is not about trying to save car manufacturers money or the reality of which system is better for public safety. It's about shutting conservatives up and outlets like Salem Media and Cumulus and other smaller organizations that run conservative talk shows on AM radio. So Jasmine Crockett is one big, giant hypocrite. And it's clear to me that she's a big, giant hypocrite. Should we play more of her? I mean, we might as well. This is fun, right?
And because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
So now she's doing stand-up comedy, talking about Governor Abbott, the governor of Texas, who, yes, is in a wheelchair. Put there, he was out for a jog. A tree fell on him. Guy's story is pretty unbelievable, how he bounces back and then ends up becoming governor of the state of Texas. Now, you know what she's doing here. Not only is it disrespectful to Governor Abbott, I will tell you that many people in Texas call him Governor Hot Wheels. And is it respectful? No. I would imagine Governor Abbott would probably chuckle at it, knowing what I know of him. We can jump on her here, but I'm just here to tell you what she's doing. She's just being provocative, and she wants me to jump her here. She wants me to yell and scream about her here because it's publicity for her. I'll give you an example of how I know it's publicity for her. I was so happy today that I got a Google alert. And let me see if I can find it. I got a Google alert today, and I haven't had one in a while. The Media Matters folks and those idiots seem to ignore Real America's Voice. They were focused on me adamantly when I was at the NRA and Newsmax. They seem to ignore Real America's Voice a little bit. And they would always refer to me as right-wing host, Newsmax host, NRA host says. And in some respects, I feel like I finally made it because Media Matters today used my name. That's the headline on my phone. You probably can't read it, but it says, Grant Stinchfield, was the moon landing a big giant hoax? I see evidence that it could have been. I really do. This is talking about a podcast that I did earlier this week that I laid out both sides of, was the moon landing a hoax? And here's the evidence of why it sure looks like it could have been, but then evidence of why it probably wasn't. And I urge you to go back and look at it. I've said to people, this is one of the best podcasts I did, at least one of the most entertaining podcasts, because it was stuff, you know, when you don't know something and you learn stuff yourself as you're doing it, to me, it's fascinating. So go back and check that out. But this was instrumental for me because Media Matters focused on, guess what, folks? This podcast. When they focus on the podcast, it means they're afraid of us, okay? And when it means they're afraid of us, it means we're growing. So I want all of you, Stinchfield's Army, to wear this Media Matters article as a badge of honor, because if they're scared of me, they're scared of you. And they know that Stinchfield's Army is growing at a record pace right now, one of the fastest growing podcasts on Rumble. And there's strength in that. So they try to attack us and make me look like some kind of conspiracy theory idiot by my questioning the moon landing, when literally all I was doing was showing you the evidence one side or the other. And I literally say in the podcast, I do not take a position on it. I am only here to show you both sides, something the mainstream media would never do. So Media Matters, thank you for this. And the fact that you're now focusing on my podcast, you will get me more viewers because you wrote about me. And for that, I'm grateful to you. So I got to love it. I really, really do. All right. Let me tell you, folks, about Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the official service provider of our cell phone service. I have a Patriot Mobile phone, the one that I just showed up. It's an iPhone, but it's got Patriot Mobile service on it. I pick which network I want to be in. So you choose from the 3 big networks. So you're not going to lose service or coverage or anything like that. But here's what you're going to gain. 100% U.S.-based customer service. I believe the deals are even better. You're going to get a free first month service. You use the promo code GRANT when you go to patriotmobile.com/grant or call them at 972-PATRIOT. You get to know that some of your money is going to help fund programs like this and others on this platform. You know that some of your money goes to fund conservative causes like Folds of Honor and the NRA and so many organizations that are fighting for our freedoms. And more importantly, you get to know you're with a company that calls itself America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. So I don't know why you're still with the other cell phone companies. There's no reason to be. Again, you pick the network you want to be in. You're not sacrificing. It's not like you're going to lose that. But 100% U.S.-based customer service, and they pick up the phone like that. And if they don't, email me, and I'll call them for you. I mean it. But I don't have to worry about that because they do. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. 972-PATRIOT is the number to call. 972-PATRIOT. Give them a call today. All right, since we're in the mode, before I leave you, we'll play a little bit of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This was a soundbite making the rounds yesterday, but I'm going to prove her out to be, well, a hypocrite.
Why are people so upset when they see a Tesla in the parking lot?
You know, I can't comment to that, you know, in terms of public sentiment. So,
but do you think Democrats are to blame for why people are so triggered by this? Because
no, absolutely
when you're at rallies saying, not you particularly, but your colleagues saying F Elon Musk and using other words, to profane words to describe him, does that rile people up, your supporters, to take action on their own?
I don't know. You know, I think about Republicans calling me a communist and Republicans saying that I hate this country.
All right, so why would Republicans call you a communist? Maybe because you've declared yourself as a self-described socialist, democratic socialism or whatever the hell it is. You're marching around with Bernie Sanders. Why would we call you a communist? You want to literally take everything from rich people and give it to poor people. You want government running the means of production. You want everything to do with communism and socialism. And oh, by the way, within hours of that comment, maybe days, she calls herself a Marxist.
These things. I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm a Marxist. I believe it because I was a waitress.
Wait, what did you say?
These things. I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm a Marxist. I believe it because I was a waitress.
She calls herself a Marxist, and she's mad at Republicans for calling her a communist? I mean, when you tell us you are one, we will believe you, okay? Just as when Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, the Houthis tell us they want us dead, I believe you, which is why I want you wiped off the face of the earth. That's going to do it for us today, folks. You know who I don't want wiped off the face of the earth? You know how I want to prosper and love and be happy is all of Stinchfield's army. In fact, I want all of America to be like that, quite frankly. I would hope that everybody across the globe could be like that. And wouldn't that be a great place to live in harmony? But I know we live in a real world. So I'm going to hope for Stinchfield's army, and I'm going to pray for it, that we live in peace and harmony as long as we keep fighting for what we believe in, freedom, liberty, and this great country that we live in, the best country in the world, still is, getting even better under President Trump. Why? You guys are out there. I mean it. President Trump's nothing without you. He's not. And that's an absolute fact. All right, folks. I love all of you for watching. Thank you so much. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you tonight on the Real America's Voice show, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for watching, everybody.